the final segment of the night, the Wisey Translator, and it is the best segment of the night because it is the final segment of the night. The Translator, of course, is our favorite thing to do because it not only gives us a chance to, off the top of our heads, give you our feelings on certain people in or out of the sports world, it also means Jim has something for me to lose my shit laughing. Because one of the other things I watched yesterday at work was the supercuts. So,
Oh
James, please,
man, am I going to have to do another one of those this week?
I think
Or
this
at
is,
least start downloading them to be able to get them ready for it.
yeah, I think we're at 9 or 10 now because I know we didn't have one for the draft, and you had just done one right after the Wiseys. So yeah, it should be about now. But James, if you would please divulge the chronicle, sir.
Now, the backstory here is that we had some monumental news in the world occur since we came to you guys last Sunday. And it made me start thinking of something from our youth that was a comedy skit. And it wasn't Saturday Night Live, and not a whole lot of people got it at first. So I'm hoping that Michael remembers this.
Da Pope.
All over my nice white suit and the pulp full of beer and in it. So, for reference, that is a legendary skit from the Kids in the Hall.
Yes. The kids in
What
the
else?
hall, James.
What else? What else was Kids in the Hall? Michael, I'm pinching your head.
I crush your face.
I crush my head. I pinch your face.
But James, I am going to go here with someone who is having a worse day than Kenny Atkinson. And your first name in tonight's Wisey Translator is now former Colorado Rockies skipper Bud Black.
How the manager of the White Sox managed to keep his job as long as he did, and Black got broken off after 40 games. Now, granted, he was having a worse start than the Sox did out of the chute last year, but you know me as a Cleveland Guardian / Indian fan, we're always going to have a soft spot for Buddy Black. For all the great outings he had during those with those '90s teams. But I'm hoping this is something where he's going to land somewhere. Is it going to be another managerial job? You never really know because remember, it took Art Howe a lot of years to find another job after the Athletics broke him off. Um, he's kind of been the fall guy at this point because you can't really put it all on him because really outside of one or two guys in that organization, and I'm talking not only at the big club, but the AAA level, there is nothing there.
No, there's not. And by the way, Art Howe hasn't had a job since the Mets fired him. But he went from Oakland directly to said Mets. But yeah, no, Buddy's taking the dip for this because the Chris Bryant signing was stupid. Everybody knew he was damaged goods when they got him. Now his career may be over, unfortunately, just 9 years removed from MVP in a World Series. They're god awful.
Michael,
Who's hurt again?
Michael, your first name in the Wisey Translator, we brought him up very, very briefly in the last segment. I'd like to kind of get your thoughts on him. It is now newly retired New Orleans Saints quarterback Derek Carr.
I have never seen a player get more tagged with mismanagement than Derek Carr. They had no idea what they were doing with the Raiders. He was productive. He was better than his brother. But it kind of is what it is at that point in time. But you never want to see a guy's career end because of injury. At the same time, he was in another horrible situation in New Orleans. There was no way that team was going to compete for the next 2 or 3 years. With their salary cap issues, they were done. They were done. So I feel terrible he's out because of the injury, but I can't say I didn't expect him to. I didn't expect him to play this year, to be honest with you, with the shoulder, but I didn't know it was career ending.
Can we actually say though that the saving grace for him and kind of how apropos is that, not being the religious man that I am, that he originally kind of made the announcement at a church sermon back in February or January or something like that. But how apropos is it a blessing for him that when he's walking away, it's because of a shoulder and not like some sort of other medical condition or a knee or he shatters his femur or shatters his tibia or a foot injury or something. He's still going to be able to, and at 35, 36 years old, he's still got a lot of life in him. He could definitely latch on as a quarterback coach or transition to, an offensive coordinator in a few years. This is certainly not the end of the rope for him because you've already seen Andrew Luck, you know, at Stanford take snaps as center, uh, um, in practice,
Yeah.
for handoff drills and everything. So this is definitely something that it sucks that Carr has to retire because of the injury, but again, it's something that he can walk away from knowing that there's not going to be long-term damage for the next 20, 30, 40 years.
No, absolutely. I could see him going back to Fresno State and taking the same position that Andrew Luck has at Stanford.
That could be very interesting.
Because
I
David's
kind
on
of
TV.
like where your head's at there.
James, your second and final name in tonight's Wisey Translator. I got to think about this for a second. Oh, I know what it is. It is Backlash winner, Gunther.
I did not watch the pay-per-view, although it was great that he beat McAfee. Um, that there's no way, shape, or form that McAfee should have won that. And I kind of like where they have um, I would like to kind of see him run roughshod a little bit here. Um, I think really all that I saw from Backlash, or at least the highlight of Backlash for me, was Randy Orton, delivering like 19 RKO's consecutively or something.
That was cool.
But um,
Did you see
I
how
mean,
that match
I mean,
ended?
listen, he's always gonna be Volter for me, because of
Yeah.
how long I followed his career. Um, and he's 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 not the flashiest, but he is arguably one of the top 10 wrestlers in the world, in my opinion. And I kind of hate the fact that so soon after losing the world title in one of the better builds, that they kind of actually did his first match after dropping that title, and yet we still haven't seen Cody Rhodes since WrestleMania. Um, was kind of a blow off comedy act like McAfee. So it's
Yeah,
going to
no,
be
I
very
got you.
interesting to see where they go from here with him, especially with if he keeps tormenting announcers, according to
Who you got for me to slam the door, bud?
Speaking of slamming doors, it may not be a door, but it's funny that you actually said just what you did because Michael, your second name in the Wisey translator, he had his heart broken at the very, very end of the show, or even the post show during Backlash. It is indeed our truth.
He needs to be the one to take the belt off Cena.
It'll
It,
never happen.
I don't think it'll happen either, but think about it. This is his quote unquote childhood hero. Isn't Ron Killings older than John Cena?
Ron Killings, I want to say, is like 51 or 52 years old.
Yeah.
And did you actually see what happened in the post-match interviews?
I did not see the post-match interview, but I heard it was funny.
Cena gave him an AA through a table in front of a whole like room full of reporters.
He did it at the gaggle. Oh my god! I tell you what, Cena's buying into this heel thing, and he's doing it really well.
Well, apparently he's only got 24 more appearances left that they're counting down, and they actually said that his final match is going to be in December in Boston Garden.
That's Fitz. He's from what? Newbury, West Newbury.
Yeah.
That fits. But yeah, I thought it was great that R-Truth was the one that helped him beat Randy Orton, and then Randy went off.
There was a Chris Van Vliet interview with Ron Killings that I just saw.
My God.
First of all, Van Vliet might be the best interview for sports entertainment out there right now.
I don't think it's a question.
But I never knew this, that that Killings originally pitched the idea to Stephanie for an action figure for little Jimmy, and it was just going to be an empty box. And Stephanie giggled and looked back and was like, "Ron, we can't do that. We got to put something in the box, man. That's hilarious. That's brilliant. But we got to put something in the box."
Yeah.